Welcome to Sunday Vibe, where we get to know local artists and uncover our community's music scene. We're joined here today with Autumn Academy. They are a group from Southwest Michigan. They play heavy rock and pop. They have strong electronic and metal influences. They released their album called Pearlescent in 2020. They have been releasing several singles since then, and most recently they released a song called Another Tomorrow, which, by the way, great song.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for being with us today.
Absolutely.
This is so much fun. I'm really excited we got to have you on. So, your band, you guys formed in 2019.
Yes.
Well, then, shortly after that year, we enter a pandemic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, how did you maintain the stoke for your music when you couldn't play your music live?
That's a great question. So, I think the way that we approached it was more of a kind of a DIY way. So when we did our album, it was all in my bedroom. I still live with my parents back then, and we recorded everything right in my bedroom. Everything that you hear, all done, DIY. Music videos up to that point have been DIY. So when we put out the album, and then nothing was kind of available for us to do out, with like people in the real world.
Yeah.
We said, okay, we have the ability, we have the technology, we have the smarts, we have the drive and the passion to do it. Why not just keep doing it? And I think when you are in a position kind of like the world was back then, having that kind of creative drive while being put in a box helps you express yourself in different ways that, you never got to see before.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I approached it.
So how did you guys write together during that time? Were you near each other in proximity?
Oh, yeah. I remember one month we not 1 month, but maybe over the course of a week or two, we nailed down so many songs, like 4 or 5 songs in a row, just boom, boom, boom. But that was also in my parents' basement.
We know what that's like.
We just
Good
went
things
down
happen
there.
in basements.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes.
When it pertains to music, typically, I mean, all right.
Yeah. So we would rehearse and write in my parents' basement, and
Yeah.
I don't know.
And for frame of reference, we released the album, I think January 2020, right before
February
election.
14th, Valentine's Day.
Oh, yeah.
It was
Valentine's Day.
February, yeah.
And it was right before the stay-at-home orders for Michigan.
It was weeks.
Yeah, and then
Weeks
that
before.
happened.
So had you done a lot of work in 2019 to get that recorded?
Oh, yes.
And then,
Yes.
That
It was a huge undertaking. Actually, probably one of the hardest things that we've had to do as a band, especially being in a DIY kind of mindset.
Yeah.
We don't have anybody there pushing us saying, this is how this needs to be, helping us, finish the project. It's kind of dangerous when you're a band doing it yourself, because on one hand, it's great. You're doing everything yourself. If you have the creative drive for it, you're like, yes, awesome. I have time for this. We don't have to record the song all in 1 week. I can record it now and then come back next month and be like, this drum part could be better. Having that creative freedom, we're like, oh, this is going to be great. It kind of sucks, though, sometimes, because there were songs that, 8 months later, we're like, I'm still not happy with it.
Yep.
It's like, geez, man.
Yeah, we
I don't
didn't
know
have any.
how. Go ahead.
We had no deadlines kind of forcing us to make the decisions and get it done. So we just, it helped us to develop the songs and make them better. But yeah, we just kind of were stretching it out a little bit further than we probably should have. But yeah.
Also keeping our productivity in line as well, because there was a lot of times where we'd be like, all right, well, we worked on this song for a couple hours and that was played Dead by Daylight for 8 hours and drink a lot of Fireball, and
Yeah,
there was a lot of rehearsals.
that was a
that were like
fantastic
that.
time. I love that time.
The
It
early
was a lot
days.
of work, recording, playing music and stuff. And sometimes it would just be like, yo, let's just chill out, have some drinks, and play some games, And
Yeah.
we did a lot of bonding time while we were recording the album as well.
I can imagine that being very beneficial as a team building. Having those moments of reprieve where you can just not think about the work.
It's necessary.
Yeah.
It's extremely necessary.
Yeah. And you hear so often that bands burn out. They're always so committed to the work, never finding enjoyment with one another anymore.
Yeah.
And it's cool you guys had that.
Yeah.
So and plus maybe some of the cocoon nature of the pandemic to really work on your ideas. I love that. And that was interesting to me that you guys had that startup where you had then the most the people benefited from the pandemic in a way, as awful as it might seem to say that. I can say from my own personal experience, I did.
Yeah, dude. Pandemic really, for everybody, probably, opened up a new side of everyone's personality. And
had you been recording before that at all? Like, did you have experience in that, or was that like a first foray into that?
No, I've been recording for a long time.
Okay.
Yeah. We had all the stuff, all of the recording equipment, all the microphones, all the cables, all the programs, all the stuff by that point. And then when we said, hey, let's just do an album,
Yeah. Which it was our first time doing like an album, because none of us had ever done that large of a project, which is kind of probably part of the reason that it went a little longer than we anticipated, just because there's just so much. You're just balancing so many different songs and, production techniques for each individual one. So
yeah, you can throw out like a big game plan for it, and then there's just going to be a lot of things that are going to be thrown at you that you weren't expecting, and that just, go all over the place.
But we learned just so much from the whole process. Like,
Who's the guy behind the DAW then? That would be you. Yeah. Okay. And John asked a minute ago, like, if you had a lot of recording experience in that. Like, what got you into that, and why are you so interested in recording and using DAWs in that?
Always been a creative person. Always really liked music and video stuff just in general. So anytime I can sit behind a computer and create something cool out of nothing, in a way, like, I've always been attracted to that. So up until that point, always been recording for demos and learning how to do just things that most people would be like, why are you doing that? It's kind of nerdy. It's like, yeah, but now that I've been doing it for 5 years, now I can say, hey, let's do an album, and I know how to do it.
That's really
you
neat.
know. So,
well, you say your sound is heavily inspired by Deftones. Yeah, I've read that on your website.
We do love Deftones.
Nothing More, Foo Fighters, 21 Pilots, which is one of my favorite bands.
Nice.
Dance Gavin Dance. I have a lot of good memories about that band too. Your album Pearlescent reminds me of like all the emo and scene bands I used to listen to when I was a kid, and that would have been for me 2006 or whatever. So what draws you towards that sound, and why is Autumn Academy kind of going after that?
Man, why are we going after that sound?
Yeah, and I think. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I guess for like that type of like writing style is kind of like what feels like at home. It's kind of like a comfort thing in a way. Like it's, but also we all kind of like have our own like unique writing styles on how we do things, and we just kind of throw it all together, and then it's kind of like find something that works out and that we all can agree with. But like, I don't know. It's just fun. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't think we ever sat down and said we're going for this style. There's a couple songs that are actually kind of out there a bit. The album is called Pearlescent because there's many different shades. It's a very I don't know how else to describe it. It's like it shines, and there's different hues, and there's different like intensities of light, and it like goes through. It's a multi-dimensional kind of color, if that's an appropriate way to say it. But sometimes we want to write softer stuff. Sometimes we want to write harder stuff. Fast, slow, up, down, sad, happy. And I don't think we've ever been a band that said we have to stay in this box. Some bands are like, we're only melodic hardcore,
Right.
We can't write anything other than that, But we never wanted to be that band. If we want to write a piano ballad, then let's write a piano ballad.
That's the benefit, I think, of producing your own stuff too, right? Because you're not trying to fit a box, and there's no one you have to answer to for your stuff.
Right.
You just get to be creative and create whatever, and I think that's really cool. But are there any bands that you draw inspiration from that isn't necessarily the Autumn Academy sound as it is now?
Oh, geez. Sure. I think you would be well equipped to answer this right now. You've been listening to more, different stuff lately.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, usually like if I'm trying to like write demos and stuff, I usually just kind of like I listen to a lot of like Dance Gavin Dance, Periphery. I've been listening to like a lot of hip hop recently too, so I've been wanting to like write more like hip hop and like rock mixes in a way. But like I don't know.
I think sorry if I interrupted you.
No, go for it.
Yeah, I think the through line with a lot of our songs, which just happens naturally, we don't really plan it this way, but a lot of times, if we're writing something that's like dark and heavy, it always ends up having like a very pretty melodic twist at some point. Or on the reverse side of it, something that's more of like a you know, more of like an acoustic song or boppy, it always like kind of gets heavy at some point, at least a little bit. So it's like we just naturally kind of blend both of those and balance them out.
Honestly, that might be going back to when we recorded the albums. That some of that could be attributed to us working on a song and it having a certain vibe, and then like 3 months later, because we're still working on the same song, maybe we're not in that same mindset anymore. We're like, that was kind of softer, but now we want to write something heavy, and they're like, we got to finish this song. Let's write something, and we're like, you know, like perfect, sounds good, you know.
Yep.
Like maybe that might be part of the reason why some of our stuff sounds like that, but
Yeah.
we think it's fun.
Well,
So
the songs come across to me as very open and honest. Like when I listen to like even the lyrics, but even just the way the chords are constructed, they have this like almost wanting nature to them that feels very like open is like the word I keep thinking of.
thank you. That's a beautiful way to say it.
Talk me through some of the process you guys take when writing the music. Like where do the ideas start, and you know what sort of things do you do to create your songs? You know, from the beginning, the inception of the idea, all the way to the end product.
Man, as of late, most songs start just with a demo idea. We get together, we pull up, you know, our program and say, hey, check this out, press play. We listen to it, we say, yep, sounds cool, let's do it, you know, that kind of deal. We've been lucky enough to work with a producer the last couple songs, and he's helped us a lot with picking our ideas and being efficient with our time, really. And some of it is when writing, just throwing anything at the wall and just seeing what sticks. There was a part, you know, in one of our latest songs.
Yeah, I heard that too.
I heard something.
Is that a bird?
I don't know.
Some kind of like, it
I
sounded
thought
like
it was
a condor.
baby.
It's a studio bird.
It's the pterodactyl,
It's a bird carrying a baby.
the local pterodactyl. Sorry.
Was that a stork?
Yes.
Yeah,
That's what they said?
that,
I'll tell you what, it was probably a seagull. This town's littered with them.
True.
Yeah.
Sorry for the derailment.
no.
We were talking about your process of developing your songs before
Yeah,
that bird interrupted us.
Well, that's part of it too. Is we're easily distracted.
Yes.
Sorry.
Well, that's why you play
extremely.
Dead by Daylight.
Yeah. Have
Yeah.
you played that before?
I love that game.
Oh, dude.
No,
gotta-
I,
you
no,
gotta
I
add
haven't
me.
played it, but I watch a lot of Let's
Oh,
Plays of it.
Well, play it. Let's play it
Okay.
together.
All
We'll
right,
do it
I'm
together.
down.
Yeah.
I'd love that.
Anyway, I'm going to answer the question real quick. Just
Yeah.
quick summary.
This is what we're here for.
We sit down, we say this is cool, and then we just experiment and see what else we can add to it. You know, that wasn't originally there.
Is the original ideas coming from you, or
Not
do
always.
you guys have some plates in that?
A lot of times, yeah, they'll start with Brandon, or sometimes like me or Cromer will have a basic idea that we'll build off of. But it's a really collaborative process. I think like we definitely bounce off each other a lot, and we're not afraid to just completely just scrap everything and start again.
Yeah.
You know, like we have no pride when it comes to like certain parts of the songs that we want to keep. We just only want to care about what sounds the coolest and
Yeah.
drive it forward.
It's a good team.
Every
But-
demo at some point will have a death metal part in it, like it has to, and then
That's the
it
way
never
we write.
stays. But
It never, even
just
though
part of the
sometimes we
process.
really want it to. But
Well, oh, sorry.
nothing. I wasn't going to say anything important. I was just going to say it's ridiculous.
You
bit-
feature a lot of piano and synth in your songs, right? I think of the song "Home." That intro is so pretty, and it starts off with the piano and the drums, and then also "Mannequin." You know, that's got a lot of piano in it. And then even your release "Another Tomorrow," like that one, and that's your recent one. That one's got a little bit in there. I think I'm picking up on it. Am I right?
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
It's subtle.
It's like a synthy piano.
So it got me wondering. None of you are claiming to be the keys player. Who is the keys player?
The computer.
The
Oh,
computer.
But we tell the computer what to do.
Gotcha.
The benefit to having a literal wizard behind the computer is that he can, from the time of like pulling up the project file, within like 5 minutes have like a fully fleshed out, synth track that's like, got all the like effects and just really cool stuff. So that's part of it too. It's just like he just whips it up and it's like cool, awesome.
Whip it.
What's your tool of choice? Like you guys talk about all kind of having the starts of demos. Like, are you all working in with the same workflow, and you just kind of like
Are
start?
you talking like program?
Yeah.
We use Reaper.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
I haven't heard anyone say that in a long time.
Yeah,
With
that's
our
cool.
circle is
Love
mostly
Reaper.
Logic, of course, and then what's the other one? Ableton.
Yeah.
you
We use
play
Ableton for
yeah.
live stuff.
Right.
All of our programming and live MIDI sends, returns, lights, tracks.
You got
click.
the whole setup.
That
going.
I would
Yeah.
very much like to talk to somebody about, like learning exactly how that's set up, because that's a blind spot for me. So that's
Gotcha.
cool.
We've talked
Let's
about
nerd out.
Yeah, please.
that, yeah.
That'd
We've
be
talked
awesome.
about delving into that a little bit, but it is overwhelming on the front end.
Oh yeah, for sure.
A lot to learn.
Yeah. It's one of those things where it's like it's there's a high learning curve, but it can do just everything you could possibly want. Like it has served all of our purposes for live stuff, like
crazy.
from lighting to just like all the tracks that we send to the front of house, and it's crazy what you can do.
How do you carry like the key and synth tracks into your live shows? Is it using Ableton then? Is that how
Yep.
you do it? And then you just have everything. Do you guys listen to a click when you play?
Yes. Yep.
Do you guys do do you pre-record parts like that you're heading to? Like you say, we're going into the chorus here, one,
Like
two, ready to
guides?
go. Guides.
Only thing we have is just a little annoying synth in the background. You'll hear the click. It's like, and then a synth will be like beep boop 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 beep 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 beep
It's
or
like
whatever, and
Oh,
then
that's like
it.
the going into the next part
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
thing. The
It's like
cue.
in racing games. It's like that. Like
Yeah, it's like
yeah,
Mario
right before,
Kart.
right before the light goes green. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Like we gotta play.
I love that.
That's amazing.
Not a lot of people know that that's happening in the ears. when
Oh,
you're
yeah.
playing.
Yep.
And that's why it's cool to ask those questions. I know today in the musical environment we're in, there's a lot more complicated things you can do because of computers, and some of these old heads don't use them. So the younger bands are using them more, and it's cool just to get an inside look on that because it's kind of a new thing.
Yeah.
Still.
Relatively, yeah.
You know,
we like it because it flushes the sound out, and also like our philosophy is like we try to never put anything in the tracks that we're actually able to play live.
Right.
So we only put in stuff that like we just physically can't do because there's
You
Yeah,
need
but
only
like,
so many guitar
but like it's
parts.
the right choice, right? Like synth beds and like just
Right.
random like like a drum loop or something. It's like of course something would do it anyway. Does it matter if someone pressed a button or not for it? Like,
Yeah.
nah.
Never any vocals, no leads. I don't think we have any harmonies or anything like that. Whenever we want to do a harmony,
No harmonies. There
Yeah.
are like
like
couple
delays
of-
and stuff.
really
there's a couple
weird
vocal
sounds.
effect things. But that's really it. Like,
But
sort of
if I can't do it with my mouth, then it's like, okay, let's just leave it to that, as a little texture. No guitar solos, unless it's like, it's contextual. But usually if there's a guitar solo, if we want rhythm underneath it, I record the rhythm so it's kind of playing to fill up the sound, and then I play the
Right.
solo live,
Right.
that kind of
Yep.
deal.
So you have to think ahead a lot, and you're
Yes.
probably locked into a lot of sets. Do you have multiple sessions of Ableton for different set lists?
We like to lock it in and rehearse it. But there are some moments when we can kind of mess around. There's little loop zones that we can set where the track just keeps repeating and repeating. And then we have a foot switch that sends MIDI information
Yeah, yeah.
to Ableton, and we can tell it to loop again or stop the loop or go back, move to this marker, whatever.
Are you using
So-
Follow for that or what?
Follow?
Yeah. I was
I
saying
don't-
there's
I'm
a
not-
plugin I used to use for Ableton
Oh.
that would do that. It was like you
Nope.
could set up
Nope.
like cue points basically and be like, I want to stay in this section or I want to go to this one or whatever.
Yeah, I just
That does
use.
sound cool though.
Um,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does Ableton have a funny word for that? For markers, it's locators.
Locators, yeah.
That's
So
what Logic calls them too. Locators.
we just set up locators, and then you can set up a MIDI track in Ableton, and then when the timeline hits that MIDI note, then it sends
Yeah.
the signal to, hey, go back to the last marker at the end of this measure, and then it can be a perfect loop until you say, disable this track with my MIDI button, and then it doesn't hit that MIDI note to go back
Right.
to the
That
last
automation
locator, it
just doesn't
keeps
happen
going.
anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
So again, it's all on the front end.
Really
If you-
cool though.
If you set it up, it's so daunting at first. If you look at the
That's
the
how I
file,
felt when I.
Yeah.
it's crazy.
It took a while.
All
to
of the tracks, everything, is all there. So if we're at a sound check and, if a bass drop happens and the sound guy is like, that is insane, that's way too loud, then we can go in and be like, okay, this song, this track, go down, mess with the EQ or turn it down or, remove this reverb or whatever,
That's actually kind of in line with the next question I have. As live musicians, you go and you take your tracks that you worked on in the studio, you take them to these live shows. What's your relationship with the sound guy been like when you bring your tracks and you bring all this stuff? Like, I know sometimes it can be hit or miss.
That's a great way to describe it. Yeah. We never know what we're gonna get.
Yeah.
And again, like it's a new approach to live music. I mean, some folks are probably older and they don't recognize what you're doing.
Yeah.
I will say, because last year we did the couple tours that we did, almost every sound guy that we worked with was awesome, and they worked with us, and it wasn't a big deal. There were a couple in there that old school guys that just didn't want to mess with it, or for whatever reason were against it. So, but I was actually surprised because I thought more people would be opposed to working with us on that side of things, and a lot of people were really cool about it.
That's good.
I dread talking to the sound guy. Every time we show up to a venue, like my heart's pumping. I'm like, I have to go talk to this guy now because I have to tell him, hey, I'm going to give you 4 XLRs. Can you please plug this in? And half the time, sound guy's like, oh, thank goodness. Like, this is awesome. Made my life so much easier. Other half, like, red face, they can be screaming at you. They're like, I don't get, we're not doing it, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, well.
So what are some things the
Great.
sound guy can do to put you at ease? Like if you had to, from your perspective.
Get with the times.
Yeah. Be maybe patient and open-minded.
I love this right now.
I have quick rundown because I think you guys would know what I'm saying here, just judging from our conversations. We just go from Ableton to a multi-track mixer.
Sure.
We have sends going out. We have a bunch.
Are you
of
doing your own ears and stuff too?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's
So
all-
what,
that
makes
what
it-
platform are you
Actually, a
on?
lot of sound guys probably love that you do your own monitors.
What do you? Oh, my favorite thing in the world is when people have their own monitoring and they just give me like a split, or if they're on the same platform as me and it's like, oh, give me one EtherCon and I can just.
We
all right,
we
great.
withheld this information from you, but John and I do sound.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
perfect.
cool.
So
okay,
so
cool.
Exactly what we're
asking these questions to you guys actually helps us too, because I recognized when I've only been doing it for a little bit of time.
Perfect.
I'm a studio musician myself. I've spent a lot
Nice.
of time working with sound, but with the live music scene is a lot different. And I started recognizing right away there is always this moment when a band comes in to load in of awkwardness of I don't know you, you don't know me. We're supposed to work together. We got only a moment to figure this out.
Mm-hmm.
How do I put the best foot forward to make sure that I'm a comfort to them and not a hindrance?
I think a lot of it is just showing mutual respect. The band needs to show respect to the sound person, and vice versa. As long as there's respect, then that's the foundation, and everything can build off of that.
Yeah.
But if there's just if one party is not willing to work with the other, it just makes everything a living hell.
And just feedback until it blows up.
Yep. Having a stage plot and an input list usually helps, or at least a heads up
I agree.
of something. It doesn't have to be the full-fledged, here's my 3-page PDF of all my inputs, but if you kind of communicate with the band beforehand, and typically in most professional settings, you're probably going to have something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But as long as you know ahead of time, like, hey, you guys are the one with the
My-
ears, right?
My favorite thing in the world is when the band shows up and nobody said that they had like a split or whatever, and you're like, you see that, and you're like, oh, I can just take my wedges off the stage.
Yeah.
I love this
Yeah.
right
See,
now.
that's what I'm talking about, man.
Yeah, and then it just gets better and better from there, right? And you're like, oh,
'Cause
this is gonna be the best night.
We're all on ears. There's no stage volume going on unless there's like a little cab.
And then when
on
the
stage.
plot matches what shows up,
Yeah, because then you're just prepared and you're like,
you're like,
wow.
like this is gonna be a 10-minute sound check, and then we just screw off for like the next hour or whatever, and just have a good time.
It's
like,
so easy.
yeah, I know.
So easy.
Yeah, that's
It's
the thing.
so
It's
easy.
like everything is simplified, but it's just if
If you're not familiar with it, then
and if you're not willing to learn about it, it doesn't work.
Yeah, so you're saying, just to condense it all down, being open, honest, and being respectful is the approach from both parties, and that's why you're probably concerned because you're not sure the sound guy is going to be those things, and you're going to be as much as you possibly can, but we're all under pressure to get the show going. So it's like it takes a lot. I think it takes a lot of self-control and respect and patience through that whole process.
It's.
But when it works out, doesn't it work out amazing?
Yeah.
There have been some shows on tour, when we show up and sound guy's like, "What's up, guys? What's your setup?" And I'm like, "We got in-ear rack, self-contained, splitter. I have a whip for you. It's all labeled." They're like, "Thank you."
That's so good. That makes me feel good just hearing about it.
They just say, "Give me your whip. You're good." Like, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah.
man.
And with our in-ears, we split everything, so we already have our, levels where we want them to be.
All of our individual
Yeah.
mixes
Yeah.
are set. If halfway through the set we're like, oh my goodness, I cannot hear the bass, like just get on my phone. It's all digital.
Yeah.
Just hook up.
What platform are you on? Like, what are you using for a mixer?
It's a Soundcraft mixer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Soundcraft mixer. It's the 18. No, I can't remember exactly model, but it's
Yeah.
one of the bigger ones.
Cool. And that's been working out for
Mhm.
you?
Yeah,
Nice.
it's great. It's great.
It's awesome. Yeah, I'm like loving how like contained some of those rigs are getting now, where it's like, oh, you just need like 2 U's and like a power conditioner and a MacBook, and you're pretty much there.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like
It's
It was a
crazy.
game
it's
changer,
nuts.
yeah.
It's really changed
great.
everything.
It's so good, dude. I've even seen people show up with like a laptop and little Scarlett, and they're just plug their guitar in. They're like, here's a send sound
I
guy.
saw a show within the last year where it was where they were running tracks off like an Ableton rig, right?
Mhm.
But then also slaving MIDI to another rig that was doing the same thing, but only doing like basically vocals processing.
Oh yeah.
So it's like literally like a Scarlett on a MacBook,
Yeah.
mic into that, output of that to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like that's nutty. Like all the vocal effects from the record are happening.
Mm-hmm.
It's still all being sung. Like the dry
It's all
is different.
real, yeah.
It's different every night, I'm sure, right? But the same stuff's getting applied to it.
Right,
And I
right.
love that.
And that's super cool.
Has that full production to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fun.
And
having,
there's still an organic bit of it. Like you could still screw up really bad, you know?
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
But like,
That's the fun of it, though.
I know.
Yeah.
That's the live portion
That's
of it.
the live portion.
Yeah, that's the part.
And that's the exact reason why we don't want to ever not play anything that we physically can, because like we want to have the opportunity to make those little mistakes or those little changes that make it interesting. So
And yeah, I agree with that. I think it's cool you found a balance between both those worlds, and that's something I'm trying to learn because I like to write. I like to do that, but I'm
Yeah.
coming from this like very safe. I have control of everything environment, and it's like, how do I translate that to the live world?
Yeah.
So for you guys,
Well, part of it, I think, is having all these things set up, right? Because, like, I'm that way. Like, I'm spoiled by, like, playing on in-ears and this kind of stuff for a lot of years. So it's like, I honestly don't even want to play a show where those things can't exist.
Right.
So, like,
Right.
that's part of why I'm really interested in figuring out how do you build these rigs, right? Because it's like, I don't know, if I were to play any stuff that I do, I would honestly want that, even if it was just for me.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're just at that
It
point
just
now,
makes
I
it
feel
really
like.
fun.
Yeah.
You know. Absolutely. And also knowing the whole set list and how these songs go and all the pieces to the puzzle, if you will. If something goes wrong, then we can either fix it really quick. If like
which we've had to do plenty of times.
yeah, there's like last minute things like I'm not getting any signal, or this track is completely disabled for no reason, and like there's some stuff missing. Then because we took 100 hours, 200 hours beforehand, over the course of months to build it, now I know what's going on and I can just pop in and be like, boom. Or worst case scenario, if it's just dead, if we're like, nope, like no tracks, or halfway through the song something messes up, no tracks, got to kill it, then at least we're still playing the guitar solos, we have all the harmonies down, everything is still real. So, the click is in our ears. Nobody else is going to know. We just stop and then we just finish out the song and it's fine, and people probably won't notice
Right.
too much.
Luckily, we've only had to do that like one time ever. But yeah, for the like with the tours, everything went off without a hitch. Like just a couple things that we like had to fix before we actually started playing, like technical difficulties and things like that. But like luckily, nothing crazy happened and everything just worked. So
Yeah.
how is that transition from the studio time to getting the ideas out to taking it to the live show? Like how do you take it from this is an idea on my computer to I'm performing this with an Ableton thing? You know?
The full setup. The latest way that we've been going about it with the producer that we've been working with is formulate the idea together. In my basement, we all get together over the course of multiple weeks. We get a song demo that we're proud of. We set up a time with our producer. We go out to him, record it. Takes a weekend. It's very quick. It's a very quick process. We get there, we lay down like a rough track. The next day we do guitars, drums, bass, and then vocals, and just get it all done. Boom. Then we drive home. At that point, it gets mixed, mastered. We get the song back, and I say, "Hey, Mr. Producer guy, can I get all those, all those synth tracks, all the extra production stuff?" He sends it to me. I get them all in multi-tracks, and then I just throw it in Ableton.
It's already ready to go.
It's already ready
That
to
sounds
go.
really easy.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
very easy. Hardest part is I just gotta, set the tempo map properly. I gotta adjust the volumes. I gotta make sure it's going to the correct auxiliary send,
Yeah,
for the
quality
sound guy, and that's it. After that, then it's just getting levels on the phone, for our personal mixes, and then that's about it.
Is that how you've always done it, like as a band?
Yeah.
And before you had your producer, you probably were doing that a lot yourself.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I think we've always been on tracks.
That's
right?
awesome.
Yep.
though.
Always.
Yeah, I think
Even back in the day
once
when-
I joined, we decided to build that rig, and then
Yeah. We used to have it the classic way, which I think, is still very popular, especially for bands that don't either don't feel comfortable getting that deep into the tech side, or if they just haven't done it yet or whatever. But the phone, just bring your phone, have your whole set mapped out or your songs individually, like on iTunes, on Apple Music, whatever, ready to go. Stereo image, left side click, right side music, split it. Sound guy gets the music side, you get the click side, and then, that's it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That way you don't have to
I've
bring
never
a full
heard
laptop.
of that. Did you know about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to run into that a lot in like churches.
Yeah,
actually.
okay.
it's like an easy way to do it,
Yeah.
Because
It's all mono at that point, but I mean, it's still better than not having it.
Right.
Especially if we're talking about click. Like I'll bend over backwards to make sure I have a click.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
You guys
Yeah.
are a high.
Even if that's coming off a phone or something. Like I don't care, just something.
Right. Like an app, you just like tap it real quick, like
Yeah,
just
like
stay-
I
just
used to do
on.
that at gigs sometimes. Like it's like I don't care if no one else wants to hear it, but like
Mhm.
if I'm drumming, I need this in my ears.
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
You guys are a hybrid in a way of the studio and performing band in a
Mhm.
way, because your entire process has been to a click. You build up your songs that way. So there's a lot of bands I know that want to record albums, but they've only played live, right?
Yeah.
And so they can't get in the studio and do the work because it reveals to them all their inconsistencies, all their shortcomings, and that frustrates a lot of people. But in your case, it seems like you were just forged in that environment.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
for you guys, it seems to be a lot quicker.
It definitely can be. I think that it's been really cool, and I think we're all lucky that we're all on the same page about this kind of stuff. We love not only performing it, but creating it in all the different ways and the different tools that we have at our disposal. In the studio, you have all these different ways of recording, and we got to experiment, and we really know what we like. And doing it together for this long, now we really lock in with each other, and
Yeah.
it's very efficient, and it definitely translates live.
I think I might want to adopt some of these things that you guys have traversed. I'm sure it's pretty normal. I mean,
It's
you
mostly
didn't
normal.
invent this or anything,
No,
but you are
no.
definitely doing it the correct way, I think, based on what you're telling me.
Yeah.
It has been hard to figure that out. So it's cool. It's
It's
just really
super
nice.
hard,
It's
yeah.
nice to hear you talk about it, and I think a lot of folks listening who are also kind of in the same boat as
Mhm.
me, and they benefit a lot from hearing you bring it up. I don't know if
Yeah.
it's something you get to talk about a lot.
Sometimes,
Yeah.
not too often.
Yeah.
Not too often.
I will
but-
say, yeah, it is difficult, especially if you're, if you've played music a long time without playing to a click, or, under a magnifying glass where you're looking, you can hear all of your mistakes. It's definitely difficult to get into that, but once you do, it makes everything easier. And a lot of bands, like we played with one on tour where they don't use any kind of production or click live, but when they're practicing together, they'll listen to a click, and so they're used to being, in lockstep with each other. But then when they play live, it's like, more organic, and they can sort of mess with the tempo a little bit. But so I think everyone should do it, at least.
just to try it.
Yeah, just
Well,
because
Or at
We,
least as a practice tool.
We
right?
100%
Exactly.
agree with you on what you're saying, because we've run into that with, John and I do some production ourselves, and it's really difficult to build something when someone can't play to a click.
Oh yeah,
So
and that
hard.
you just said practice tool. It's almost like every single time we play, whether it's in the basement or recording or live in front of a big audience, like it's always to a click. It's always to a very, very precise, measured amount of time. So it's almost like we're always rehearsing. We're very in tune with the click, and we're all very in tune with being right on time, which is
Yeah.
super cool.
It sure makes the recording process easier.
Yeah,
Because like
super,
all the playing you're
super.
doing is with it. So like that doesn't turn into like a new scenario or a different one. It's like, oh, let's just do what we always do. And then,
Mhm.
you get tracks you like at the end.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah.
and especially like with drummers, I think a lot of drummers that don't, haven't really had experience playing with a click, they'll do like their main groove, and it's, pretty on time. And then as soon as they hit a fill, they're not used to feeling that fill in time. So it'll just like be super fast or super slow. And it's like, if you are really used to playing with a click all the time, it feels more natural to play that in time. Even if you don't have a
That's what
click,
we've
you
learned.
understand, it just helps timing in general, even if you don't have it. playing.
But we love the nerdy stuff. It's very cool.
So do we, by the way. We're
Which
very.
actually, what do you play? I'm sorry.
Oh, I start out on keys.
Okay.
I like to dabble in everything. You know how producers are. They like
Yeah.
to try to learn a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
I'm really bad on a kit. Like I can't play drums, but I can program drums. You know, in fact, I will get lost in the weeds. I'll just say this last thing. I actually really like a niche way of making music, which is using trackers. Have you ever heard
Okay.
of like what it is? It's like a you program samples and then I build drum parts and stuff that way. It's very on the grid, and then the challenge with it is trying to make it sound organic when you're locked into a spreadsheet, basically.
Yeah.
I feel like you would enjoy that kind of thing, you know. But it's how they used to make old video game music. They'd use I'll get lost in the weeds. I'm done. I will talk about this forever.
It's easy to do, isn't
I
it?
nerd out.
It's
too.
so easy.
Yeah,
So
you and I
easy.
are one in the same in that. But
No, that's cool.
going.
Yeah, you mentioned you were a studio musician, so I was curious. And you said you play drums.
Yeah, I do a little bit. I do my best.
John's kind of all
It's
around
not my
as
main
well.
instrument, but
John, John and I got connected a long time ago. We used to do church, and we grew up in the same church. We since moved on from a lot of that, but we still maintained our friendship through music. And it was really cool because we talked about doing this kind of podcast sort of thing and related to getting to know artists, and then also moving forward, eventually working with artists and bands and all that kind of stuff. We always had like a thing with music. And, it's been really cool to have him to work with, and we've sharpened each other and all that. And it's kind of cool to hear you guys talking about all these little details, right? Because John and I feel sometimes very alone in that, where a lot of our friends who are musicians, they don't want to mess with all the pain of what it takes to record stuff, but they want to have that record and all that. So it's just really cathartic to hear you guys talk about the amount of care and that you put into it that it reflects what John and I have also done in a way. So
Yeah.
appreciate you guys talking about all that.
I think it's super cool when people are into this kind of stuff, I've always been super nerdy, so, but when I get to meet people and talk to them about the stuff in detail, it's super nice. So I love it.
It's interesting that you guys say you came from, started kind of in the church setting. That's actually where I kind of cut my teeth as a drummer. Like that was my first like drumming gig, is playing in the youth group band, and it got me used to playing in front of people and like.
were they running a click?
No, actually, no. It was, kind of more free for it. They didn't have like the greatest equipment, but it was a lot of fun. Just like getting used to playing in a band, and then same. I've moved on from that since then, but yeah, I will always be grateful for that experience just because it helps me as a drummer.
If you don't mind me asking, how did you get involved in playing drums? Were you a drummer in school? How did you get into a kit?
That was actually, that's how that started for me. As a kid, I was kind of more of like an indoor kid. I didn't really want to do anything. My mom would try to get me into just activities like sports and things like that, and I just never was interested in it. And she gave me like an ultimatum one time when I was 11. She was like, all right, it's either karate or you're going to play in the school band. I was like, I almost picked karate. But I was like, you know what? Sure, I'll be in school band, but I only want to play drums because I thought, that's the only cool instrument.
If you're gonna
in the
do
school
band, you better do drums.
I was like, I want to be a drummer, And then that's how it started.
So when you got involved in the youth group thing, was that your first time ever playing live drums?
I think so. Well, so I had done like a little bit of that. I was in jazz band for a little bit and then kind of stopped. So that was the first I think first actual time playing drums in a band to a group of people. So yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah, that similar thing. I had a guy at the church I went to just trust that I could figure it out, even though I wasn't good. He put me on stage, and I remember just being awful and scared, and I didn't play the right chords or anything, but he allowed me to do it again after that. And I think he just saw that there was like a desire for it, even though I didn't have the skill. And I was always so grateful for that. I'm really excited to know there's someone else just like that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, what about you? I know you're the context we have or Bethany's our context, right? You've known Bethany for a while. Am I right about that? You guys are from Waterville.
Yeah.
So did you guys go to school together?
Yep.
That's cool.
Well, what were you like 3 years old? Okay. I think yeah, it was like my freshman year of like marching band. I think you were your senior, right, or something like that. Something like that. I don't remember. That's like that.
So growing up in Waterville, now you play bass in the band, right?
Yeah.
So what were some of your examples growing up as a bass player in Waterville that you got excited about playing bass and wanted to
Well,
learn
I
it?
started off like just percussion. Like I just did that. I did drums in the jazz band, and I did like bass drum and quads or tenor drums in a marching band. And I don't know, I was messing around with a keyboard, guitar. I just kind of wanted to learn like all types of instruments. Like growing up, I even got like a violin at one point, ukulele, and then I was like, I never, I want to learn how to play bass, and never really messed around with the bass. And I started playing it, and I was like, all right, yeah, I'll learn some like Alice in Chains and some No Rush or whatever. And I don't know, I joined jazz band playing bass, and I just ended up like really liking it. And then I got some scholarships to play bass at SMC. Sorry. Yeah. And then, just kind of stuck with it.
So how did the three of you meet originally? Like, how was that?
Ooh.
Long story.
We got time.
Try to condense it down real quick. So, we were in a band before called 45 to Argus. Many band members came and went. Music changed. We grew up. It was a band that we started when we were relatively young, and then as you grow through your teens and stuff, you change as a person, really.
Definitely.
And definitely music tastes and everything and life experiences. By the time the band started and the band, I guess, ended, when we all got together, it was a completely different thing. Like, this is not the same band that we had. I can't even remember the first 5 songs that we ever did as that band, like that kind of stuff. It was such a different thing. So by the time we got Cromer and by the time we got Andrew, and we're all together, we're like, this is a totally different thing. Like, this is not the same band. So that's what this is, a new band. Like, that's how we're going to portray this. So the way that we met, had a bass player, lost bass player. I was going to college at Lake Michigan, not too far away. And I did some classes, I think, with his cousin, and drummer in the band at the time was like, hey, we can reach out to him, to this guy. I think he plays bass. Cool. So we messaged him, and he said, yeah, I don't think I'm interested, but maybe my cousin will. So I think your cousin sent you the message, or maybe we sent you the message. I don't know. Somehow we got in contact with him. He sent a video of him playing bass to us. And we're like, yeah, you're good. Come hang out. And then we went to McDonald's for a really long time. Right? We hung out in
We
McDonald's.
shared like memes for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
You guys just hit it off.
So that's usually how, you develop friends. Like, you just go to McDonald's and share
Mickey
memes for a couple
D's.
hours. And then I remember we lost our drummer, and then we went to Guitar Center down in South Bend. We were like, we don't know what else to do. We're bored, and we're sad because we don't have a drummer. So we went there, and and we were talking to one of the people that worked there. We were like, yeah, we really need a drummer, and we're talking about it. He worked at Guitar Center.
Okay.
He was in the drum department. We were talking to somebody else up front, and sharing names back and forth. Like, hey, how about this person? No, we can't. No, not them. Like, oh, but what about this person? No, blah blah blah. And then he was walking around, just like organizing drums, just like whatever, doing his thing back there. And we were like, he's a drummer, right? And then the person that we were talking to was like, oh yeah, him. You should go talk to him. So I'm gonna try to make this not as awkward as possible. But I walked up.
Before you say that, I was testing out one of the Roland TD50s because we just got one in. It was really cool, and I'd never really played drums while I was working, just because I don't know, I didn't want anyone to think I was slacking off. But at that time, I was like, screw it, I'm gonna do it. And so I was like actually playing at the time that they approached. And take it away.
Yeah, I think that's what triggered us to walk over to you, because we're like, we need a drummer, and then you're back there like, we're like, we could talk to him, like, yeah, let's go. So I walked up to him, and it was probably the most awkward introduction I've ever done in my life. I was like, I can't exactly remember what I said. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I walked up, and us side by side, and we're like, hey, you're good at drums. Do you want to be in our band? And he was like,
And I said no.
he actually was like, I'm in another
Like,
band.
who are these guys?
I'm in another band. Like,
So then what? How'd you guys get it?
Yeah. So yeah, I was in another band, and it was one of those situations where it kind of, like, at that very moment in time, things were not going super well with that band. So if they would have come in months before, I probably would have just been like totally like, yeah, no, sorry. But after we talked, I think we came to the conclusion, like, yeah, if you guys need like a fill in, like maybe I might be able to do that or whatever. And then you guys left it. And I didn't think anything else would come from that. And like, while, in the meantime, like, I started listening to some of the 45 to Argus stuff, and I was just like, oh wow, like, I really like this band. Like, this is an awesome band. This is kind of the style that I've always like sort of wanted to, be a part of. And I was just like, man, like, kind of hope they reach back out, but I didn't really have any expectations of that. And then Brandon sends me a message out of the blue and was like, hey man, did you think about possibly doing the show that we were wanting to do and fill in? I was like, yes. You know what? Yeah. And so yeah, we like practiced for a few weeks before that show, and like, I think at one point we just we just like thought of all these different plans, and I think we were building the rack at that time before I was even official, and then like we were on the way to go get the mixer for that rack, and I think you turned around in the car and were like, you were probably driving too, so it was probably not safe, but you were like, so are you in the band? I was like, yeah, I think so, yeah.
My favorite part about the story is that it was never like an official severance from you and your previous band. So even to this day, we still joke, like, once every 6 months, we're like, you should do a Facebook post on the band page, like your old band, be like, it's sad that that we have to share this news, but Andrew's officially not the drummer anymore. It's been like 5 years.
It's with a heavy heart that I must leave
Step
this
away
band.
from the band. Oh my gosh. But
Then you named the band Autumn Academy. You said the other band was 45 to August.
Argus.
Argus?
Yes.
How do you spell that?
Argos.
Oh, okay.
That's a
I thought
town.
it was
in
another
Indiana.
fall reference.
If you're in Niles,
That would be actually pretty funny.
one of the previous drummers was in Argus. If you're in Niles and you drive to Argus to go rehearse, it takes about 45 minutes to get there.
Gotcha. Okay.
So as you can tell, I'm super creative.
Well, speaking to that creativity, when I think of the band name Autumn Academy, I think of walking to school in the morning and in the fall, school's starting up, and it's got there's this feeling of like new beginning and like, there's a little bit of tension in the air, right? And it kind of fits really well with the vibe of the band, which is cool. But where did you get the name from? Like, how did you come to that?
The band name Generator.
We did okay, hold on. It wasn't all a band named Generator. We tried a band named Generator because we were like, I don't know what to do. But
We spent
love
like
that.
weeks trying to come up with the name.
yeah, it was a long
really
time.
hard process.
And then eventually one of the generators said Academy, and we're like, that's kind of
I love that.
that's a word that not in a band name too often, like, but we need, is it alliteration to the
Alliteration.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that's the other part I like.
we need
about the
another
name.
we need another A word to go around that some way somehow. Academy's kind of unique, don't see it too often, Then we're like, we really love autumn. It's our favorite season,
Yeah,
when leaves are falling, it's getting kind of chilly. It's like sweatshirt weather.
We're into spooky stuff.
Yeah,
Halloween.
we love Halloween and spooky,
Oh, yeah.
all that stuff.
We
So
just
we're
got
like
off of that
autumn,
season. I bet that was a fun
autumn
time.
Academy. Like, it could work, Then once you say it like 500 times, and you're like, yeah, this is pretty good.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we're coming to the end of this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm almost out of questions, but I'm enjoying our topic with you so much.
talking?
I know. I want to keep talking to you guys. I got a couple more here, though.
Yeah.
Let's see. We've covered all that. Well, okay. Let's talk a little bit about your early life. A little bit. You guys all play different instruments.
Mm-hmm.
Some of you guys play more than one instrument. I know you do. You said you played drums as well?
Yeah.
And you play bass. So that pairing probably works well. You probably understand what he's doing, and you can lock in really easily. But what got you, like, what's one of the earliest memories? And you can each answer individually, but like, what's that moment in your life growing up when you're like, wow, I I'm obsessed with music now.
Guitar Hero.
No
Yeah,
way.
Yeah, I always liked music growing up, but then when I played Guitar Hero, I was like, damn, man, I kind of want to play music live now. And then like, of course, band and marching band, and like going to college and actually doing like part of the jazz ensembles and like symphonic stuff. And I did like little small jazz groups and whatnot. I actually got to play live and play some shows and stuff. I was like, yeah, it's a really fun experience, and I don't know. There's like just something about it. It's like really, it's nice.
Yeah, as you were in marching band, right?
Mhm.
What was this? Isn't Autumn Academy related or the band, but I just want to ask because I was in marching band too. Is Engelman still the teacher over there, or was she when you were?
I don't know actually.
Okay.
Like it's been years since I've talked to her. So
Okay. Well, but was she your teacher?
Hollingsworth now.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure at least.
Okay. What was marching band like for you? What with you played percussion. What was did you have the one of the bass drums, or did you have the quads?
Both. Yeah,
Okay.
I did bass drum for like 1 year and then quads for the rest. But I liked it. I thought it was fun.
I actually really enjoyed marching band too.
Yeah.
Marching band was fun. Yeah, that's cool.
I felt like it definitely taught me a lot of discipline, which is something I
Yeah.
needed.
It's very militant when you
Yeah.
do marching band, and you have to sit there and like hold posture, and
Yeah.
your arms get tired. Were either of you guys in marching band? No.
I was actually, yeah. I went to a really small school, so the band there weren't like separate bands for each thing, like pep band, marching band, jazz band. It was all the same band doing all these different things. So if you're in the band there, you kind of have to do all of it, which was kind of cool in a way because it exposed me to a lot of different like types of percussion. And the thing too is like we only ever really had like 2 or 3 percussionists in the band at any given time. So it's like there were literally times where we'd play like pieces of music with multiple different percussion instruments happening at the same time or like right after each other. So like literally like my other percussionists and we would like plot it out and figure out like, all right, we need to both switch over and play like the bass drum and the snare drum, and like, oh, when I'm playing that snare part I could probably also do like a tambourine part, and like just trying to like figure out how to cover all these different instruments at the same time. So like sometimes it's nice to have a really small band with zero budget because it forces you to be creative, but at the same time I really wish we would have had a little bit more money in the program and been able to afford nicer stuff.
Do you have an early experience of like what got you fired up about music? Made it your lifestyle?
So the very first memory I can think of like that has anything to do with music is like I think when I was like 5, I had this like first act little acoustic guitar, and I just like would just like try to pretend I was Alan Jackson or something, just like strumming on it and just like just singing really really badly. Nothing was tuned or anything, so it probably sounded awful. But yeah, and then I think before I actually, I told you about how I started playing percussion and band, but like I had this like electronic kit for kids that was like 4 pads. I just remember just like playing on that. And I think that might have been what kind of interested me in playing drums in general, but yeah.
Hidden stuff.
Did you ever get Rivers a little like kit yet?
Not yet.
I know I had the little tiny ones at Guitar Center sometimes.
I want to get him one of those like Questlove breakbeat
kits,
Yeah.
which are actually really nice.
They sound good too.
Yeah.
Actually.
They're not bad. They're not bad.
So they're legit. But yeah, one of these days.
Yeah.
How about you? Any early memories that you can recall that like put you on the path to where you are today? In
It's
music?
the feeling, man. It's
Yeah.
the feeling. You ever drive alone in your car and you crank up a song that you really like and it has a vibe that might be completely different than what you've been feeling all day up to that point, but then for some reason it gives you like this really excited energy and you can't help but yell and scream in the car about the song, Imagine when you're a 4 and 5-year-old kid, right? Brain is still developing and, you put in a rock CD, different bands and stuff and big explosive rock songs. And like my little brain was like, oh my God, like why do I feel like this?
Oh, that early, 4 or 5.
I mean, I've listened, to music whenever my parents put in stuff, like
Sure.
a CD in the van. And I'm like, dude, this song is awesome. Like this guitar riff makes me want to just like
You feel it?
unbuckle my seatbelt and like run around in the van, you know?
I get yelled
like,
at by my parents.
Yeah. And like, you know, if you're home alone, like put the same CD in, then you're jumping around in your living room and you're like, I have so much energy, maybe because I was a child, but also because the songs gave me like that weird feeling of I don't even know how to explain it, you know? That kind of deal. So ever since then, I'm like, nothing else really makes me feel like that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to keep doing that thing, you know?
Is there?
I,
Oh, go ahead.
this is kind of like off topic a little bit, or not really, but like I don't know why, but when I was young and watching like the Disney Channel, like the Kim Possible theme song, like gave me that type of energy. Where I just run around the room like,
Yeah.
I just had to sing the song and like, I don't know.
Impossible.
I love that song still.
Yeah, it was all sorts of music, you know, all sorts of stuff. Biggest bands for me was you know, Green Day. I love Ozzy. Metallica always got me. Guns N' Roses was super cool. Just like you know, any band that has a big hit song that's like super big riff and big energy and easy to sing, not easy to sing vocals, not maybe to perform, but to like, you know, easy words and an easy melody to remember, and you just like can scream it, and you have this energy, and you look like a complete weirdo, you know, if you're alone and you're just going crazy. But you know, it's like that kind of stuff. Like when a song gives you that kind of energy, it's kind of hard to find anything else that gives you that same feeling of expression, you know?
I know what you mean. I used to listen to a lot of radio when I was really young. I'd listen to music before bed. I remember listening to I don't remember what it was called at the time, but it was just our standard pop station in town. And I remember hearing a song. I think it might have been the Killers. It was. I think it was "Read My Mind," and this was before I knew who the Killers were. And I remember waiting for that song to come back on because of how much I enjoyed it. And this is before you could just kind of like easily find things, and we had dial up, and I wasn't allowed to use the computer. So like, I had to sit there and wait for that thing to come on. But that energy you're describing, like when that song came back on, I was jotting down lyrics so I could like find it someday. You know, like in my room on a notebook. I felt bad about that, and that would have been when I was probably 9.
Yeah.
But before that, I remember one song that particularly spoke to me, and I've maintained it to be one of my favorite songs of all time. But it was the song "Kokomo" by Beach Boys.
I love that song. That's awesome.
And I have this very vivid memory of being a first grader, and our gym teacher putting it on this little jukebox thing or little radio that she had in the room, and I remember we were doing jump rope. And that song was playing on repeat because it was like friendly to play. Yeah. And I remember just hitting me in a certain way. And then I was like, this is interesting. But I wasn't even into playing music then. I just liked what I was hearing.
Yeah.
I think
weird.
that song for me, that moment where I was like super, super into a song was that Nickelback song off of the Spider-Man soundtrack.
Oh yeah, dude.
Which song was that?
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking
How
about.
could
Heroes?
that be? What's killing me road never change. They say that a hero can save us.
Not gonna stand here and wait.
Yeah.
We didn't
This might get
rehearse that on the way here.
flagged for copyright. We totally don't listen to that sometimes on our drive. Sometimes, occasionally.
Unpopular opinion, I actually think like their first 2 records are incredibly good sounding.
The
Like they're
only-
heavier than anyone
The
like
only reason
pictures
people
that
don't like
band being.
Nickelback is all just social reasons. I mean, they did some.
Well, they made Photograph, and then it was all over, right?
Yeah.
Well, it was. I don't want to get into it, but I don't think it has anything to do with the music, really.
Extremely popular opinion. Nickelback rips, and you can't lie to me about that.
No.
If you don't like Nickelback, you're lying. Four Morgan and Cokes, and you tell me when Nickelback comes on, you're not going to be screaming at the top of your lungs.
100%.
Well, that's how I feel about the Weezer discography. Sorry. It's an unpopular opinion, but I like everything they do. I don't care just about the Blue
Weezer
album.
too.
I
I'm
like
just
everything.
very behind on Weezer. I feel like Pork and Beans, and then my everything goes fuzzy. I need to listen to everything after that.
At some point, they started like producing like with actual Pinkerton was the most lo-fi thing you've ever heard. Blue album was made really well, but like lately, it's all been real pop centric. It's like really well produced stuff, and it's not that grunge rock you used to listen to.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm there for the ride with them.
I think it's the same thing with Creed. You know, everyone hates Creed, but like, you know, that one song comes on, Hold Me Now. I'm 6 feet from the. Yeah, I mean, you cannot just absolutely.
It is impossible to be at a bar and you have a couple drinks, and if that comes on, you're like,
You are belting that song. At
dude,
the
you're
top of
crying.
your voice.
You're crying. There are tears out of your face right now. You know
The big stops at the end of the chorus. You're like, if you're not air drumming and like
Yeah,
going
dude.
wild, yeah.
And
That's
it's easy to
hilarious.
be like, oh, he sounds like he has marbles in his mouth. He doesn't sing normal, but like,
Which you probably did.
it doesn't matter, dude. The song is good. The guitar is great. The drums are big. The vocals, like the words, it's all good. I don't care, man.
Yep.
I'll make fun of it, but I will sing it word for word. Like, it's art. Just have fun with it, you know? It's good stuff. I'm sorry. Did I interrupt you?
I don't even remember what I was gonna say, so it's
Oh,
okay.
no.
I have that effect on people.
I do the same thing. It takes a lot of restraint not to ramble and tell all the things I want to talk about.
Yeah.
I overshare.
It's okay. So do we.
Thank you.
Moments ago, I was singing Nickelback to you, so.
That's true.
I was singing, and
I was
sang
here.
Creed,
I think we
so-
all were, and we were here for it too. We're all
We all
living
joined
It
for
was like a
Yeah, it
group
was-
session. Like, there should be like a little fire. Get some s'mores.
Well,
we
we
can
talked.
build one here.
Well, we talked about how
I have
cool it'd
s'mores
be
granola
to
bars
have
over
a
there.
local restaurant, cater these little podcasts, and we'll have their food right in the middle of the table, and we'll just all hang out around it and just keep it there.
Oh,
and
that would
then-
be. That sounds nice until someone's like, "Oh, sweet."
That's
like
the
right in
thing
the-
holding us back.
Yep.
That might actually be.
Some people might like that.
Yeah,
There are
like
a
that
lot
could
of,
be a-
There is a audience.
Is that
for
our
for
niche?
sure.
Like
It goes right
No,
hand
that's
in hand
not
with
our
the
niche.
foot picks, with the
I'll
foot
cheat
Yeah.
at
camera.
Just
cameras under the table, big lip smacking in the microphone. That's
Speaking.
that's
speaking
what everyone's
of
looking
food,
for.
Speaking of food,
Yeah.
you guys have been going out to venues a lot. Is there
Mhm.
any venue you particularly enjoy because the food is really good?
Was there?
Ooh.
There was that one venue in Iowa. I don't even remember what it was called, but they had
Oh, he's a
some,
barbecue place.
dude. They had some awesome like pulled
That was
pork
really
good.
sandwiches,
Yeah.
and they had like a selection of like 9 different barbecue sauces you can choose from to just pour on your sandwich. It was so good, and I don't remember what it was.
Is that the unanimous opinion?
Oh, that
Yeah,
that's the only place I can
probably.
remember the food specifically. It was so
super
good. The
There's one place called the Empire, right?
oh,
You remember that place?
Yeah,
We got so drunk
Yeah.
there. It was really bad, dude.
and-
It was
and we'll-
really
you
bad.
know, I'll clarify that we we were pretty tame throughout the tour. But that one night,
they had some like deals on some that 99 proof like banana shots or whatever.
It was like
Oh,
$2 for a
geez, that-
shot,
Yeah.
but it wasn't a shot. It was a double shot, like a full on, like
Oh, no.
legit. We each had like probably 5 or 6 of those at least.
yeah, it was
That's a night.
it was.
Did
a
you
fun time
ever
at the
tell
merch booth
Courtey
after
that I kissed you that night?
No,
Dude,
Right on
I
the
don't-
cheek.
I don't know if I
Everybody
remember
knows.
Oh yeah,
he was. Yeah, we were all just really drunk. And was it like a "I love you, man" type deal?
Yeah. So I just,
I think you and Steve took your pants off too.
Yeah,
yep.
we did.
Wow,
know,
you guys sound like
well,
a
we have a
band.
picture of that.
There is pictures.
These
There's a-
stories are just
It is a-
so
yeah.
authentically a
But
band.
that was the only
Sunday
night.
Vibe, the tell-all podcast.
Yeah, and
I
your
just-
car broke down on the way over, so
We just needed oil.
Yeah.
We're low on oil, man. But
it just
I should clarify that we are not really a party band.
no.
No,
Not
but I just
But
wanted to.
every
I
once
wanted
in a while,
Just that
in
one time?
Ohio, you know,
Just in Ohio.
we're gonna
Was that
have
in
some
Ohio?
fun. I think so. Or no,
No,
maybe
it
not.
wasn't.
I think that was
Empire was it Michigan?
No, it wasn't Michigan.
If we were actually
Pennsylvania?
partiers, then
Pennsylvania?
I don't
Might
think
have been.
I don't think we would point out just one show and be like, "We got drunk this night." You know, it's like cool.
I
you know?
think the click track would be a lot less necessary too. I feel like you wouldn't care about that anymore. you know?
Luckily, I think we were done playing at that point, or were we? I don't know.
I was
We might have
buzzed when we
started
played.
before we. Yeah, we got it started, and then we. Yeah.
The sound guy was so cool there.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
What was his
awesome.
name? Palm.
Palm.
He was
Dude,
such
he
a nice
yeah,
guy.
Nice
dreadlocks.
guy. I
He was
loved
about
him.
4 feet tall, and just dude was just so chill.
He was so nice. He made our night better.
Yeah, he
Well,
was great.
I'm gonna start winding it down.
Mhm.
I've really enjoyed having you guys on. This has been really fun, and I really enjoyed your record,
Thank
the
you.
one that you have, Pearlescent, out. And I encourage anyone listening, go check that record out if you're into like the emo scene sort of thing. But then also some heavier stuff influenced on that. It's not just the poppy stuff. It's like you guys actually have some real grit to your songs. I love it.
Thank you.
I see you've still been releasing singles. Is there another album on the way?
We'd love to do another album. Quick answer is that singles are just a lot easier to market. When you have a big pile of songs like you do in an album, then you push out the album itself, then that's one product to say, hey, world, this is what we have. Instead of doing that, how about you take the album, split it up 10 different times, and put them out once a month and say, hey, world, this is what we have. Guess what? Another one, another one,
Yeah.
another one. You keep going and
You just
going.
keep
You have
is
momentum.
it about keeping up a presence in a way
Mhm.
too? Because
There's been like actual research done about though that like for that where they'll be like, you know, we surveyed the top however many albums, right? Because there's data for this now.
Yeah.
Where they'll be like of say like a 12 or 13 track record, it's like, you know, the majority of the listens happened on like track 1 and 2. So it's like, why, if you were going to pick some opener track anyway, why not just do that with all the good ones and just single them all, right? Because like, what are the chances people are going to listen to all the way through to track 7 or whatever? They might, but it's like that's going to get put on a playlist or something, and
Right.
people aren't putting like entire albums on a playlist, you know?
Yeah.
Yep.
So
And it's a lot more efficient with your money as well.
Oh.
It can cost a lot of money to make an album,
yeah, and time,
especially when you
sure.
reach out with and have a team, you know, of people that help you record it, you know, like a producer and stuff like that. You know, it's also their time. It's not just our time. So,
Yeah.
you know, instead of putting all the time and money into that, you know, for a full album, like let's do little pieces here and there, easier to market, less time management, you know, just all around easier.
Well, I wanted to give you guys the opportunity to plug something that's coming up for you. You know, whether you're releasing something, you have a show coming up, let people know. And yeah, you got something?
Yeah. No.
No, you. Well,
No.
I was just going to say, probably the main thing that we'd want to plug is the latest single that just dropped,
Yeah.
Another Tomorrow. I just hit 20,000 plays on YouTube.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Nice job.
I think literally just today or yesterday,
something.
I'm gonna
it
look
hit
at
20,000.
Because I'm not paying attention to it. That's a big number.
Yeah, I saw you guys had a video out for that, and the video looked really well produced.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So, you know, anyone watching, check that out. I'm sure we could put links. Ash, make a note of that. We'll put link to your video.
Yeah,
in the
check out that
description.
song.
And
We put our heart and soul into that song.
I'm
listen to
excited to see what you guys do next. And
Yeah.
I'm
Right now we're working on demos. We have a couple that we're really excited about, and thinking about going back to Chris Dawson, the producer of the last few that we've done. So just keep your
Do another
eye
song.
out.
We recently got a booking guy, so if you're interested in catching a show, anybody here or out there in the interwebs, you know, stay up on our socials and our website and stuff. We'll post about that when we are able to do so. Yeah, that's it.
all right. Well, thank you for tuning in. Check out Autumn Academy. Check the description for links of the video and also any other things we decide to put in there. I'm not sure what it'll be yet. And thank you. We'll see you guys next week.